Making headlines. The President arrives in Estonia on an official visit. The President constitutes a national task force to combat disasters. And the Maldives passport retains its rank as South Asia's most powerful travel document.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Dhaan. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz arrives in Estonia for an official visit following an invitation extended by President of Estonia, Dr. Alard Karis. He was received upon his arrival in Estonia by senior officials of the Estonian government. A special ceremony was held in honor of President Dr. Muiz at the Presidential Palace of Estonia, where President Dr. Karis officially welcomed President Dr. Muiz, further solidifying the diplomatic ties between Estonia and the Maldives. The visit is poised to strengthen bilateral cooperation between the Maldives and Estonia, with a particular focus on digital innovation, cyber security, e-governance, climate and environmental issues, and advancements in science and education. Throughout his visit, President Dr. Muiz is scheduled to engage in high-level discussions with several prominent figures of the Estonian government. The President's itinerary also encompasses a visit to Tartu, Estonia's second-largest city, renowned for its academic and scientific institutions. He will also visit the Estonian Genome Center, a leading facility in genetic research, and the Greenergy Data Center, a state-of-the-art establishment dedicated to sustainable data solutions. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz constitutes a national task force to combat disasters ahead of a fresh spell of bad weather across the country. The task force comprises of the Maldives National Defence Force (MNDF), Maldives Police Service (MPS), and National Disaster Management Authority.
The Maldives Meteorological Service Met Office warns that the cyclone, which has formed in the southwest of the Bay of Bengal, is now moving west of the island nation, with heavy rains expected late Monday, continuing till Tuesday morning. Speaking at a press conference held by the task force on Monday, Chief of Defence Force Major General Ibrahim Hilmi said that the Joint Operations Centre of the task force has been established at the Army headquarters in Bandara Koshi. Hilmi said the MNDF was ready to provide assistance to the people to limit the damage caused by the impending bad weather. He said that the Army is ready to put up sandbags and man the pump stations in the city, while soldiers across the atolls were also on standby. Speaking at the press conference, Commissioner of Police Ali Shujao said similar to MNDF, police were also on standby, Mala and the atolls ahead of the bad weather spell. He added that services have been arranged to provide assistance to islands where police posts have not been established. Shujao has asked the public to take some measures to mitigate the damage caused by the bad weather, urging them to restrict vehicle movement in flooded areas. During the press conference, National Disaster Management Authority (NDMA) Chief Executive Hisan Hassan said that the agency's emergency operations have been activated and preparations are underway to provide assistance. Hisan shared details of the work being done to put up sandbags in the homes most likely to be affected by flooding. He said that more than 57 homes have been fortified with sandbags and added that efforts to overcome homes are still underway. He also urged people to take personal responsibility to mitigate the damage caused by the heavy rains and possible flooding. The Met Office has also urged people to take immediate precautions ahead of the fresh bad weather spell.
The Ministry of Higher Education, Labour and Skills Development announces the commencement of applications for higher education scholarships to study in China. These scholarships, offered through the Chinese government scholarship program, allow recipients to pursue their studies at any university or educational institution in China. The scholarships comprise one opportunity for a bachelor's degree, one for a master's degree, and one for a doctoral degree. The coverage of these scholarships encompasses tuition fees, medical insurance, and a portion of accommodation costs. These opportunities are available across a diverse array of academic fields according to the Higher Education Ministry. The recipients of these scholarships will be selected by the Chinese government. According to the ministry's announcement, applications are open until 15th February. The Higher Education Ministry also announced additional scholarship opportunities made available through the Chinese Embassy in the Maldives. These additional scholarships include 2 opportunities for bachelor's degrees, 2 for master's degrees, and 2 for PhDs. These will cover tuition fees, accommodation, medical insurance, and stipends. Applications for these scholarships are open until 1 p.m. on 30th January, according to the ministry's announcement. In the years past, many efforts have been made to strengthen the administrative areas of Maldives. In 2008, Maldives adopted a new constitution and a decentralization system was born to empower local councils. The biggest obstacle, however, was the challenge and relinquishing powers long concentrated in the central government, coupled with the lack of resources in the atolls.
Successive governments had adopted different approaches for decentralization before this administrative formed the Ministry of Cities, Local Governance and Public Works, aiming to finally bridge the divide. The entire mandate of this ministry is focused towards improving the quality of services provided in the atolls. One of the top priorities of the administration is to make the functioning of local councils sustainable and independent from the central government. One of the most important decisions taken by the cabinet in early 2024 to achieve this is to extend the jurisdiction of councils to 700 meters from its shoreline. The next step was to allocate uninhabited islands outside the jurisdiction, which has to be sanctioned by the ministry. The ministry acts as an intermediary in acquiring these islands for the local councils. It has invited local councils to submit proposals for the acquisition of islands. So far, the proposals submitted by 3 councils have been evaluated. The ministry has also concentrated efforts to strengthen the decentralization system last year. One of the most important of these is the effort to build the capacity of local councils. The ministry is also involved in efforts to ensure that the services offered in the capital Male City are made available in the islands. The councils are divided into 7 clusters and training of staff is currently underway. Training has started in 6 of these atolls and plans are underway in the remaining atolls. In addition, infrastructure development of councils has also begun, with 187 council buildings in much need of renovations when this administration took office just over a year ago. The ministry has designated 55 councils to be built under the government's PSIP budget, and 50 councils have been included under the assistance of the China government. Since the introduction of the Decentralization Act in 2010, 10 amendments have been made to the Act so far. A study was conducted last year to see if these reforms really made a difference. In light of this study, 3 main findings emerged. This includes too many council members were elected, educational qualification of elected members should be higher, and the increase in the financial capacity of councils and women's development committees (WDCs). In addition to improving the services, the ministry has also given special emphasis to many things to enhance the quality of life of the people living in the atolls, to the people under the special directive of President Dr. Mohammad Moise. The ministry has facilitated special celebrations in festive occasions such as Eid al-Ha and Eid al-Fitr in all cities and islands. The role played by the ministry is transferring municipal services in Hulu Male from the Housing Development Corporation HDC to Male City Council MCC remains a notable milestone last year. The ministry has looked to expand public works under its supervision and solve the issues faced by the city and island councils. Through such extensive initiatives, the new ministry has moved closer to bridging the long-standing divide between the central government and local councils.
The Maldives passport retains its rank as South Asia's most powerful travel document, continuing its regional dominance for another consecutive year.
The Henley Passport Index is a global ranking of countries according to the travel freedom allowed by ordinary passports for their citizens. It publicizes the list based on the information collected from the International Air Transport Association (IATA). The Maldives has been ranked at 52 out of the 199 countries included in the list, and it has climbed 4 places after being ranked at 57 last year. The current passport allows locals to travel to 94 countries without visas. Neighbours India were ranked 85, while Sri Lanka was in 96th place. This year, the strongest passport at a global level was that of Singapore, which allows holders to travel to 195 countries without a visa.
Maldives welcomes the inaugural flight of India's cargo carrier FCOM Cargo, marking a significant milestone in the efforts to expand air cargo services in the island nation. This marks the first time a cargo airline has launched scheduled flights to the Maldives.
The inaugural FCOM cargo flight from Chennai, India, carrying 20 tons of cargo, arrived at Maldives' main airport, Velana International Airport, VIA, on Saturday morning. MACL said FCOM Cargo will operate 3 flights a week to the Maldives to complement the cargo charter flights already operating to VIA. MACL said efforts are already underway to further expand air cargo services, adding that it will establish agreements with major airlines to connect shipments flown in by FCOM Cargo. With the launch of scheduled air-to-air cargo services by FCOM, MACL is looking to expand air-to-air cargo services through VIA. The airport's stake in the global air cargo chain will provide a much-needed revenue injection to the country's economy. Maldives currently facilitates the export of goods from 3 countries through its sea-to-air cargo services. The sea-to-air cargo service is a joint venture between the Maldives Ports Limited MPL, MSCL, the Maldives Customs Service and Maldives State Shipping MSS, where the Maldives act as a transit hub to ensure the swift and timely air delivery of goods brought to the Maldives via sea. Establishing Maldives as a transit cargo hub is a part of incumbent President Dr. Mohamed Moise's vision to diversify the country's tourism-dependent economy. Under this initiative, VIA has more than doubled its cargo handling capacity, with the new cargo terminal inaugurated in January last year. The newly inaugurated cargo terminal has a capacity to handle 120,000 tons of cargo per year. The cargo terminal is 2 times larger than the old cargo terminal used at the airport, which handles 50,000 tons of cargo per year. The government has planned to boost capacity to 300,000 tons in the next 4 years.
Residents of capital Male braces for a fresh rain spell on Monday, 2 weeks after heavy rain flooded large parts of the capital, damaging several homes. Storm clouds have gathered over Male since early Monday with intermittent showers, with Maldives Meteorological Service Met Office warning that the weather is expected to worsen after sunset. Met Office said that the cyclone, which has formed in the southwest of the Bay of Bengal, is now moving west of the island nation, with heavy rains expected late Monday, continuing till Tuesday morning. Wind speeds are also expected to pick up, followed by rough seas during the storm. The Met Office has said the bad weather spell is expected to continue until Wednesday. The Male City Council has mobilized efforts to put up sandbags in dozens of houses most vulnerable to flood damage. The National Disaster Management Authority (NDMA) has placed sandbags in 56 homes expected to be affected by rain floods. The Maldives National Defence Force (MNDF) has also been deployed to drain possible flooding ahead of the storm, concentrating efforts primarily in the west of the capital. Police tows over 15,000 last year amid renewed efforts to crack down on illegal parking in the heavily congested capital.
According to last year's statistics, police had conducted several operations to ensure road and traffic safety across the country. During these operations, a total of 15,514 vehicles were towed, which include 11,645 motorcycles, 2,567 cars, 478 pickups, 369 vans, and 87 trucks. Of the vehicles towed last year, 546 were destroyed and 13,562 were handed over to their owners. A total of 73,953 vehicles were checked during traffic stops last year, with 7,606 drivers fined. During traffic stops, 66,347 people were let off with a warning and 7,606 people were issued tickets for traffic violations. The operations also found 2,138 people without a valid driving license, which include 2,005 two-wheelers and 133 four-wheelers. In addition, 293 cases of reckless driving were reported last year, which included 271 two-wheelers and 22 four-wheelers. Police had also given special emphasis to reduce major road accidents last year. The aim of the Maldives Police Service is to increase public awareness on road safety and encourage a society who abide by traffic rules.
Trade sources and data shows Middle East crude oil benchmark premiums surges on Monday to about $3 per barrel, above Dubai quotes, the highest since October 2023.
The jump in Middle East crude oil prices came as Asian buyers are rushing to source alternative supplies following tougher sanctions by the US on Russian oil shipments. The US Treasury on Friday imposed sanctions on some Russian oil producers as well as 183 vessels that have shipped Russian oil, targeting the revenues Moscow had used to fund its war with Ukraine. Oil prices extended gains for a third session on Monday, with Brent raising over $80 a barrel to its highest in more than 4 months, as wider US sanctions are expected to affect Russian crude exports to top buyers, China and India. Brent crude futures LCOC1 climbed $1.14 or 1.43% to $80.90 a barrel after hitting an intraday high of $81.49, the highest since August 21st. US West Texas Intermediate crude CLC1 rose $1.20 or 1.57% to $77.77 a barrel after touching a high of $78.39, the most since October 8th. Traders and analysts said that Russian oil exports will be hurt severely by the new sanctions, pushing China and India, the world's top and third largest oil importers respectively, to source more crude from the Middle East, Africa and Americans, which will boost prices and shipping costs. Many of the tankers named in the latest sanctions have been used to ship oil to India and China, as various Western sanctions and a price cap imposed by the Group of 7 countries in 2022 shifted trade in Russian oil from Europe to Asia. Some of the ships have also moved oil from Iran, which is also under sanctions.
The Kremlin states that the latest round of US sanctions on the Russian energy sector risked destabilizing global markets, and Moscow would do everything possible to minimize their impact.
The Kremlin emphasized that Rosatom, Russia's state nuclear energy corporation, would continue to operate internationally even after US sanctions on the Russian energy sector. It is recognized as a leader in the international nuclear market, particularly in the peaceful energy sector, and has numerous high-tech advantages over its competitors. The Kremlin acknowledged that the United States would persist in efforts to undermine the positions of Russian companies in non-competitive ways, but they remained hopeful that they could counteract these actions. They also noted that they had previously predicted that the Biden administration would seek to leave a challenging legacy in terms of US-Russia relations, consistently pursuing policies that Russia viewed as detrimental. According to Kremlin, these decisions would inevitably contribute to the destabilization of global energy and oil markets. Moscow said that it would carefully monitor the consequences and adjust the operations of its companies to minimize the impact of these sanctions, which they described as illegal. The US Treasury imposed expanded sanctions on Russia oil on Friday, targeting major producers as well as 183 vessels involved in shipping Russian oil. These sanctions were aimed at reducing Russia's revenue, which has been used to finance the war in Ukraine. A US official suggested that if enforced properly, these sanctions could cost Russia billions of dollars each month. The sanctions have led Chinese and Indian refiners, significant buyers of Russian oil, to explore alternative sources of crude. Many of the tankers affected by the sanctions have been used to ship Russian oil to these two countries. Despite these pressures, the Kremlin believes that energy supply routes can be adjusted and that new alternatives will emerge to mitigate the consequences of the sanction.
The newly appointed head coach of the Indonesia national football team, Patrick Kluivert, introduces himself and his staff to the public on Sunday. Kluivert is looking to bolster Indonesia's bid to qualify for the 2026 World Cup and is looking for a fast start in his first match in the charge against Australia.
The former Netherlands striker Patrick Kluivert replaced South Korean Shin Tae-yong, who was dismissed with Indonesia Football Association (PSSI) chief Enric Thohir, calling for better leadership.
I told you before, my goal is to qualify, of course, for the World Cup. So the first two matches are very, very important. We need to, to be directly sharp against Australia, and after against Bahrain, we need to be as well very sharp. So from the first two games, I love to have at least 4 points in the pocket.
Indonesia are third in the qualifying group, well adrift of leaders Japan, but only 1 point behind Australia in the battle for the two automatic berths in the global tournament. Kluivert's first qualifying match will be the trip to Australia on March 20th before they face Bahrain in Jakarta 5 days later. Kluivert, 48, said he preferred to play attacking football but was open to being flexible.
When you play football, the system will change. And it's 4-3-3, 3-5-2. The most important thing is that the players understand what to do on what moment.
After years in the doldrums, Indonesia have experienced a significant upturn in fortunes due to an influx of mainly Dutch-born members of Indonesia's diaspora into the national team. They have given Indonesia hope of a long-awaited return to the World Cup finals following their only appearance in 1938 as the Dutch East Indies when the country was still under Dutch colonial rule. Kluivert enjoyed a stellar playing career in which he won the Spanish league title with Barcelona in 1999 and scored 40 goals in 79 internationals. After stints as an assistant coach in the Netherlands and Australia, Kluivert was appointed head coach of Curaçao, his mother's homeland, in 2015 before returning to work in Ajax Amsterdam's academy less than 18 months later. He has signed a contract with Indonesia through to 2027 and will be assisted by fellow Dutchman Alex Pastoor and Danny Lanzat.
Britain's Royal Mint on Monday releases a new £2 coin honouring literary author George Orwell.
Marking the 75th anniversary of author George Orwell's death, the reverse tails design coined by Britain's Royal Mint pays tribute to one of his most famous novels, 1984. The coin, designed by Henry Gray, depicts what appears to be an eye on one side but is in fact a camera lens at the center. Orwell's 1949 book features a Big Brother government that spies on its citizens and forces them into doublethink or simultaneously accepting contradictory versions of the truth. The quote, "Big Brother is watching you," encircles the camera lens, while the coin's edge inscription reads, "There was truth and there was untruth," another quote from the novel. According to the Royal Mint, the £2 coin is one of the most favoured denominations among collectors. Since its introduction to the definitive coinage of the United Kingdom in 1998, the £2 coin has seen over 50 reverse designs, including coins commemorating other literary figures including William Shakespeare, Jane Austen and J.R.R. Tolkien.
That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.
حقوقنا ليست للبيع.
And the resumption of commercial activity.
Haftar ni mikan tayo, tunay ka mas kahuga, eta kaming